Space, another frontier. These are the voyages of the YouTube channel smAsho, our continuing mission to explore strange new science, to seek out new life and new nubification, to boldly look at stuff that no one else is looking at. We're given a 2-minute lead on this one, folks. We'll be back probably around 2:15 on the timer. In the meantime, enjoy Honey, I Shrunk Your Soul and Sunspot 2738 images. Be right back. All right, I'm back, and I'm resigned to the fact that it will be impossible for me to cover all of the stuff that I want to cover. So, get started looking at Sunspot 2738 here. And we see those umbral cores that are trailing it are still looking very small and practically non-existent. And we've got a lot of stuff to get to today. More than I'll be able to cover, undoubtedly, but I will do my best to cover as much as I can. We're going to be reading the preliminary draft for the nonprofit organization in 1 minute. It's going to be the next order of business after I talk about funding. Here's the sun at 171 angstroms. Some serious filamentary activity going on up here in the northeast limb. And you see the magnetic influence of Sunspot 2738. A decent-sized sunspot, just not magnetically complex enough to produce a lot of flaring yet. Shout out to the Trailer Park Boys, those of you who watch. I know we got some Canadian viewers out there.
Not another night of the shit abyss, please.
All right, so we've got another view we got to look at here. We need to look at the 193 angstroms view to look for coronal holes. We see the North Pole coronal hole still slightly filled in, and we see a little bit of prominences up there right in this area. There's a filament on the northeast. So the sun's not very holy right now. Small one down there associated with the South Pole. And let's talk about April and funding. April's my birthday month, and I'm headed back to the sport of cycling after, let's just say, a period off. Anyway, there's me. If you're somebody who is a corporate sponsor and you want to sponsor an entire team, please email me at not Daniel J. Nigro. My name's Daniel J. Nigro, but email me at smAshomash@gmail.com. And yeah, we're looking to raise $5,500 for me personally to get my season kicked off. And everybody's a little late this year on the team for undisclosed reasons. In any case, this is what you'd be getting. This is where the ad space would be. I'm a time trial specialist. Here we are doing a team trial, a team time trial, that is. Here's my pal Chuck, John O'Neill. This is me in the red helmet, by the way. Here's my first road race ever after I retired from mountain biking in 1999 when I was hit by a truck. Broke my left tibia pretty badly and missed the whole 2000 season. And since then, only road and track. So here's some other pictures. Here's Tucker Brown, local cycling favorite. And there I am with the red helmet again. Here's Andy Lakatosh, the winner of this race. And here's the guy that finished second place. Anyway, enough bragging. I'm a time trial specialist, and I will be getting back to it this year. Looking to raise $5,500 by May 1st, so please donate if you are able, as there is a lot of stuff going on. Now let's talk about the nonprofit. I think I opened this actually as a tab here. There we go. I'm just going to read this real quick because it's pretty important stuff. So here's the mission: to assist, study, and report the ongoing formation of a unified theory of physics. 2, to raise the awareness of the general public of the relationship between space weather and Earth effects. 3, to connect and consult with media organizations to multiply our reach. 4, to demonstrate cutting-edge proof of concept solutions to problems. 5, to publish scientific papers in a multidisciplinary manner, including sciences such as spectroscopy, chemistry, astrophysics, health, wellness, longevity, cosmology, biology, magnetohydrodynamics, geology, etc. 6, to assist mankind by advancing the study of predictive phenomena in order to optimize value, reduce risk/liability, save lives and resources, and adapt no matter what the adversity is. 7, to not be ossified in our beliefs and to treat those who are ossified in their beliefs, that is, with love, respect, and inclusion to the scientific discussion. Here's the team. The team is the Velo Shop. We are located in Shimerville, Pennsylvania, actually. And we are the official bike shop of the Lehigh Valley Velodrome. So, highly endorsed shop here. Just recently moved locations and working on the grand opening. And incidentally, Kim Geist is a current world champion jersey wearer, one of the teammates here. And here's the team. This is Becky Quinn, the owner of the shop. And yeah, one of the best bike mechanics in the valley, lead mechanic Alan Schaefer. So anyway, visit theveloshop.net. Get yourself a bike, get yourself some tires or whatever you need, have it shipped. And yeah, all right, enough advertising. Back to the sun, we need to look at the magnetic lines here. So we're going to go to the sun now. And here are the magnetic lines at 193 angstroms. We see some highly closed lines right in the center of the sun there. And this is old data. I can tell just by looking at it, from April 6th. I don't know why that's even there. Let's get that off the screen as it's totally irrelevant to our cutting-edge instantaneous reports. Let's take a high-res close-up of 304 angstroms instead. We do see some filaments here. By the way, folks, if you're wondering how I do that, those constant zooms that I'm always doing, it's because I'm a gamer, so I usually have one hand on the keyboard and one hand on the mouse. And this is a good sign up here, too. Let me bring out my Epic pen here so I can draw on the screen, as I know some folks like it. So we see a little bit of crown prominences up here on the North Pole area. And there's a close-up of sunspot 2738. Large, but not particularly dangerous, so nothing to really get too excited about. Move on to some other stuff. And we don't really need helioviewer.org today, although it is a great site. I highly recommend you check it out. Got to make sure we've got everything refreshed for the real-time solar wind section. We are trying to move on as quickly as possible, folks. Like I said, we got a lot of stuff to cover. So pardon me if I talk fast. I did not go to the Ben Shapiro School of Public Speaking. All right, so there's a real-time solar wind. We're looking at 1 day on April 12th. Phi angle way up at 400. I don't know how you get an angle of 400. Apparently we're at 400 degrees, so I think that's 40 degrees, but let's not do radian calculations, shall we? Density is at 4.98 protons per cubic centimeter. Speed is at 425 kilometers per second. Nothing too noteworthy there. Let's play the gong show. Shout out Snowflake Vaccine, who claimed yesterday was I think Snowflake claimed this was a fake gong show. One thing I would note is that stereo B, pictured here, is not working right since 2014. So stereo A is good to go. And the Earth has a lot of ground-based magnetometers to create this graphic. So if you're interested in this, it's part of the Global Oscillation Network. And that's how it works. It's using stereo A and B and many ground-based magnetometers on Earth to get this data. And we are right in a heliospheric current sheet crossing moment here in terms of polarity. So, what? Wait a minute. Yeah, we're looking at, we've already crossed the current sheet, I think. Let me see here. No, we're in a crossing, folks, and I was showing you old data again. And for that, I apologize. All right, so yeah, we're looking at a current sheet polarity switch going on here. So we're gonna take a look at the magnetometers and hope that they are still coordinated. Check out spaceweather.com for stories like this on a daily basis. The 10.7 centimeter radio flux has dropped down to 77, I believe, was the last report I saw. So still much higher than anticipated. And this site, spaceweathernews.com, has got a bunch of data that you may like to watch also, such as the X-ray flux. Hey, how about a little X-ray flux? And it's loading a little slow right now. Here's the last 6 hours. Just had another B flare. Nothing really too extravagant. Geez, did I just read out the word April 12th? Yeah, I said April 12th. And it is April 13th, folks. Like I said, a little too much to get to, and I apologize because there's a lot of stuff going on. So here's the current sheet crossing. These spikes here in the magnetometer, that's probably it. And that's because we're looking at a similar plasma density on both sides of this. So if you look at the last frame, and believe me, I've been looking at this for months. So see how the plasma is dense here and it's dense here? That's what makes the charge disparity not seem like a big deal, at least at the F2 ionosphere layer, if that helps. So we'll go back to spaceweathernews.com and wait for it to load. There we go. Here's the electron flux. Nothing too extravagant going on there either, folks. We do have some charging hazards here. Despite the electron flux not being at very high levels. And there's the F2 ionosphere layer is looking discharged. Discharged. And the planets today is not cooperating. All right, there we go. There's the location of your planets. And let's advance it 7 days. There's where they shall be. You should be able to see Jupiter early in the morning. Let's look at solarham.net to see this region. It's still considered beta class, according to this. Although my best guess is that those are no longer umbrae, and those will lose their name. In other words, the sunspot count will go down, but this one's going to take a while to evaporate. So enjoy the company of 2738. It's been there quite a while, and it's already completed its second rotation around the sun. It's into its second rotation, I should say, as we watched this one form about 2 weeks ago. And it went all the way around the back, and now it's making its second visit. So thanks, Sunspot 2736. You're now known as Sunspot 2738. Next, we got the magnetosphere movies, as we do on a daily. And we see pretty normal situation here. Based on the solar wind that we see, this is pretty normal. Not a lot to comment on. Let's move on so the video is not an hour long, as that is the goal. I know some folks want 10-minute space weather videos, and we're going to be producing them soon, but we have to set up our paywalls. Once we set up our paywalls, you will only be able to see these live streams on the paywall, and all the cuts will come from the live streams. So the shorter clips of the videos that we shoot will appear on YouTube, and the rest will only appear on things like Patreon, probably Minds.com's paywall, and whichever other ways we can figure out to create this thing known as sustainability for our channel. There are your ground perturbations. No real big deal going on there. Here it is from the globe perspective. Same deal, nothing too extravagant. Same old, same old. 2 North Poles and 1 migrating South Pole. We're going to look at cosmic rays real quick, as we avoided it yesterday. Not for any particular reason, but there's Apatity, and there's Barentsburg. Next, we'll look at Athens. We did see a spike here. So there's Athens. And we are going to talk about cosmic rays a little bit more here, because there are some pretty serious scientific papers that are going to be written this year. One is basically Earth science, atmospheric Earth science. One is biochemistry. And the other one is straight up cosmology. So that's something to look forward to. And we are looking to make your deductions tax deductible, at least for the smAsho by the end of the year. Next, we'll look at Mexico City. There's the cosmic ray situation there. We're going to ignore Moscow, as they have not been sending data. Here's Oulu, Finland. Little spike there. DOMC Antarctica. And there's the cosmic ray flux at DOMB Antarctica. Actually, let's look at Moscow just for a second. Maybe they've started returning data again. Moscow is back, and for that, we thank you. Got to give credit where credit's due, folks, so cheers. Next, we'll look at the Enlil prediction here on Space Weather Enthusiast Dashboard. And if you don't have that one in your favorites, well, why the heck not? Put that right next to smAshomash.org and smAshomash.com and youtube.com/smAshomash and facebook.com/smAshomash. And yes, there's an Instagram too. Next, we'll look at the total electron content as I use GPS daily, almost every day. Nothing too extravagant going on there. Let's advance this faster because this thing plays slowly sometimes. Complete with timestamps. Don't say I never gave you nothing. Now, we had a large 6.8 magnitude earthquake at Indonesia yesterday. Let's look at 24 hours of earthquakes. Oh my gosh, the earth is flat. There's two Africas. So going back 24 hours, we see a 4.5 in China, 4.9 in Indonesia, 5.0 in Papua New Guinea, and then we have a 6.0, and this was a big deal. Let's head to the watchers. As they had a good story that I saw this morning. It was a shallow quake. Tsunami was suggested. There was a warning issued. And I think 100,000 people were evacuated. So it's a pretty serious quake. Let's play this Twitter video and not get banned. Don't delete us, YouTube. I can't see what's going on, but I assume the ground is shaking. Maybe this one's a little better. Maybe this shows us something. Apparently, it was initially reported as a 6.9. I don't know what this is supposed to be. Maybe the aftermath. Anyway, there's the information. If you want to check it out, check out watchers.news. All right, moving on. But not to that. We are on the wrong tab. So we're going back. All right, so there's a 6.8 there. Still in a 7 magnitude earthquake drought, by the way. There's a 4.7. Here's a 5.1 in Indonesia, 5.8 in Tonga, largest they've seen there for quite a while, and it was at the surface. And for that, we thank you. Probably not too much damage from that one. Here's a 4.6 at Mexico. Here's a 4.6 at Ferndale, and let's fast forward this track as it's a slowed down version. Check it out, a 4.6 off of California. Looks like it's off the coast there. And it looks like it's farther out than most of the other quakes. Check out the regional information. Kind of out right on a point of connected quakes right there. Straight out of that point there. All right. And what else do we have here? We have a map that has zoomed by itself. And where am I? We got to speed this stuff up, folks. We got a 4.6 in Yemen. We got a 5.9 in Papua New Guinea. Here's a 5.0 at depth. Not a good sign for future earthquakes at the surface of larger magnitude. Here's a 4.6 Indonesia, 4.4 at Indonesia. So a little earthquake uptick going on, folks. Northern Mid-Atlantic Ridge there with a 4.9, 4.8. Also at Indonesia, 4.6 Vanuatu, 4.4 Papua New Guinea, 4.4 also Indonesia. Indonesia. Here's one at India. Bay of Bengal area. 4.3 at El Salvador. 4.6 at Russia. Near the Kamchatka Peninsula. 4.7 at Indonesia. Ecuador with a deep quake. Indonesia, Japan. 4.9 there. 4.4 Russia, 4.4 Mexico, and 4.6 in Japan. So let's take a quick look at the weather around Ecuador. And we're still on carbon. We're still on sulfur dioxide mass from yesterday. Look at a pressure map here. We do see a strong low there south of the Aleutian Island chain. This persistent low that was hanging out over here by Malaysia has finally started to break up, but it's still going the wrong way. Still going east to west instead of west to east. As far as South America goes, major low pressure in between South America there and Antarctica, south of the Cape of Good Hope. And man, oh man, if you're sailing down there right now, you don't have a lot of good hope, because that's going to be a mess. A little bit of anomalous systems here, but no major lows. A little bit of a low there east of the Andes. So if you're expecting an earthquake in South America, that would be the best guess right there. Anyway, have a disaster plan, folks, and in the event of an emergency, disaster, etc., Walking Dead situation where there's zombies roaming the street and trying to eat your brain, please be an asset and not a liability. And will you stop searching locations? Anyway, windy.com has a great app, and for some reason it keeps doing this, and it's really starting to piss me off. So let's go to U.S. weather. We've got severe weather over my head right now. As I will get to drive out and do applied science today, very early in the morning, in a downpour. Anyway, there's your U.S. Doppler radar. Thanks to AccuWeather.com. Heavy storms over Texas. And we've got a convergence line that goes all the way from Newfoundland to northeastern Mexico. Let's look at it on the NASA GOES while we're here. As I like to show a water vapor map so that our viewers really understand what's going on. We call it a value-added service. We try to show as much data here as possible. And we don't want to conjecture too much because we don't want to divulge science papers that we're going to publish this year. So check out the convergence zone going down near Texas. Geez, we got major radio frequency clouds right here over north central Mexico. And a line of very dry, powerful air over Lake Michigan and so on. We have a dry air convergence here over Southern California. So there's a lot of stuff going on, folks. Don't be distracted. Don't be distracted. Here's a convergence zone too much of a zoom. Let's zoom out a little bit here. We'll use a medium zoom factor instead of a high. And there are your radio frequency clouds caused by Hall currents. See those clouds right there? They're not contrails. They're not chemtrails. They're not carbon dioxide. They're radio frequency lines. So anyway, there's that convergence zone. So if you're in Central Texas or any place around where you see those red things kicking up, those are going to be pretty extreme storms right there. So have your hard hats on, maybe in advance. Let's also look at this convergence over California, as it's quite funky looking. Let's get a little better zoom on that. I could use the Pacific one, but we're just going to stick with this one for now to keep the video as short as possible. Excuse me. Thanks to the George C. Marshall Space Flight Center Earth Science Branch in Huntsville, Alabama. All right, let's move on to volcanoes. Let's see what's going on today. Shivaluch, 13,000 foot plume there. Sakurajima exploded. Produced a 7,000 foot ash plume. Merapi, lava flows in central Java, Indonesia. Revenador, constant emissions to a 17,000 foot plume, and we're not sure about Sabancaya. Do we have any photos? Ooh, what is that? Nice. Is that a video? I think it's just a photo. Anyway, there's some lava from Merapi. And next we've got the Core 2 space weather beacon from Stereo A. We show it every day, just so you know that we showed it. We don't mind. Sometimes you see stuff you weren't expecting, so we show the maximum frames every day to make everybody's life easier. Which reminds me, let's make everybody's life easier by throwing some serious cosmology in here. So here's a perfect section to explain what's going on here. Let's get into the weeds, deep into the weeds. And that, I'm already screwing up my drawing, folks. All right, so let's say the Earth is here. Here's the sun, obviously, behind the chronograph sunshade device. Behind the aperture, there's the sun. Solar wind comes out, and when it gets to the magnetosphere, it breaks into what we call field-aligned currents, which go through the planet, out the other side. We're talking about Earth here. And that's the magnetosphere. And back here you have the magnetotail, and this is the interplanetary magnetic field. This is where the sun's plasma magnetizes you. It magnetizes you and everything in the solar system. Now, what about the galactic field-aligned currents? This is the thing that we're going to be studying this year very, very in depth. Because for those of you who are aware that practically everything in the universe is proportional, And similar ratios of each other, fractal in nature, right? The whole universe is basically fractal in nature. What that means is that here's the sun. Something is sending energy at the sun, plasma, and it's doing the same thing on the sun. We need to figure out what that is. Now, some of us have already figured out what it is. Problem is, we have to tie all the data together. So, what about the sun's field-aligned currents? Are they from the galaxy? Are they from a different galaxy? Here ends wading through the weeds. I hope I've caused some mental gears to turn. As the sun's orbit around the galactic core is quite similar to the Earth's orbit around the sun. All right, let's move on to other stuff so that sinks in to brains. And there's a plug for Google, which I didn't mean to do. Here's a video from just 3 days ago, actually from just yesterday. And here's Dr. Pierre-Marie Robitaille talking to Unziker, son of fabled chess player, not fabled, but son of actual chess guru or whatever, grand master. So here's another video, Real Physics Talk, featuring Pierre-Marie Robitaille. We'll play you a clip. Not sure what he's going to say, but I know he's talking about the condensed matter nature of the sun and all stars.
So that was the beginning of this launch of this idea.
Yeah. So that's a story that reminds me a lot from Alfred Wegener, who was.
All right, so I'm playing the wrong guy here. Let me just back this up. We'll back that up to that point there. And get you a clip from Dr. Robitaille, so you'll go watch all of his videos on YouTube's Sky Scholar channel, featured in our featured channels.
So I thought, okay, I will do it, and I'll put the ad in the New York Times. So he went to.
By the way, he spent $100,000 of his own dollars to put an ad in the New York Times, since the Big Bang is refuted by observations of the sun.
The meeting that year for the American Physical Society was actually in Indianapolis. And so on March 17, 2002, a full-page ad appeared on page 810 of the New York Times. And the New York Times has a distribution of 2 million copies worldwide. And so I was told by...
Anyway, the sun's activity occurs on the surface of the sun almost entirely. And it's caused by things like electron affinity. So that's kind of important to know when it comes to things like cosmology. And Robitaille is well aware. And the world is about to receive a new cosmological model. It's not going to discount all of the astronomy that everybody's been doing over the past 10 years. We don't want anybody thrown out of the field. But anyway, let's let him continue here for a moment.
Friends in physics, that when the article came out, people in Indianapolis, of course, became aware of it. It was called the collapse of the Big Bang and the gaseous sun. And so people were searching for the copies of the New York Times. And, some editors came to my friend and said, no, he didn't send the paper to us. Actually, I haven't sent the paper to anyone.
Now, if you want to look up the paper is called The Sun on Trial. If you just simply do a web search at a place like DuckDuckGo.com, just do a web search for The Sun on Trial, and you will find this paper. It's readable. It contains 40 proofs that the sun is not made of a gaseous plasma.
Because I was advised against it, I just immediately put it in the Times. It had never been rejected or something by a journal. And the New York Times article actually had two sections, which the very first small paragraph talked about the microwave background, that the monopole should come from the Earth itself, from our oceans. And then the second part was about the sun must be condensed matter.
They didn't believe Galileo. They didn't believe Copernicus. They didn't believe Kepler. They probably didn't believe Langley.
So that was the beginning of this launch of this idea.
Yeah. Well, so that's a story that reminds me a lot from
all right, so let's cut this off before I get banned from YouTube as a result, as we are a growing channel, not a shrinking channel. I meant to pause that, and let's move on to some other stuff here. I would cite this article here from Andrew B. Collins, Cygnus X3, a massive X-ray binary, which we're staring right down the Z field of. So we're looking right down the equatorial plane of this thing. The Z field is coming up into your face like this, right at you. Cygnus X3, known as Deneb in the constellation Cygnus, is also the celestial North Pole at the other end of the precessional cycle. So it's kind of an important star, and we're not going to get into the weeds on that at all. We do monitor its emissions, as it is a very important radio source. I don't know why it's not refreshing, but it's not refreshing. And there are the transients. If you want to go there, just check out the Swift Bat Hard X-ray telescope. Come up here, hit find. We're going to add a new section to our videos every day. We're going to just pick something out of this list, probably from the Southern Hemisphere, because I don't know a lot about Southern Hemisphere constellations and so on. And we're going to just have a random section where we just pick whatever, you know, here's 4C-02.81. We're going to figure out what that is, and we're going to tell you about it. Don't worry about that or that. I think we are basically done with the stream, folks. So we're going to show you some extra views of the sun. We're going to open up the chat, see who's joined us, and then we're going to get out of here promptly before I am late. Whoops. And since we got a little more data while the stream was happening, might as well break out another view. How about 94 angstroms? A perfect opportunity for a real close-up of the sunspot. So while that plays, I will open up the chat here, see who's joined us, and then leave here as if I just robbed a bank. Nice. My thumbnail has Robitaille's face right on it. Perfect. That is exactly what we want. Maybe I won't even create a thumbnail today. What do you think? All right, so welcome everybody to the chat. Let me just read through here. Yes, Korgrad Grogo. No, we're not going to have a gang sign. We're going to have a fist bump. So I'll explain how to do it at a later time. There's going to be a special smAsho fist bump. It's going to involve nuclear explosions and fallout. And it will be awesome. Trust me. People like it. Thank you for joining us from Kitchener, Canada. Everybody shout out your locations. Why do the larger lakes in North America all run on a straight line from one another? That's a good question. And I am not a geologist. So I can't answer that one. You got to admit sometimes you don't know stuff. Otherwise, you'll sound like a complete dolt. Yeah, you know what? Let's actually, there's something I want to look at here because there's some weird thing going on. Why is it that the phi angle now has a 400-degree portion? What kind of sense does that make? This is supposed to be degrees. There's no 400 portion of a degree scale. That's like a redundant. So I don't know what the hell is going on with that. It's weird though, very weird. And I'm not going to freak out about it because who really cares? I guess let's do an animation at 304 angstroms and close this thing out. And thank our donors and subscribers and viewers and those that leave comments. I don't know if is commenter a word. I'm not sure. By the way, I'm not putting subliminal messages in there. It's just that this page will not allow you to go full screen. So for some reason, it might have to do with these frames. I don't know. It's fine. We're gonna put a video to that. We're gonna put a link to that Robitaille video there. That just came out yesterday. I watched that last night before I went to sleep, and I probably had great dreams about a real unified theory of physics. So thanks everybody for tuning in. We are out of here, and have a delightful Sunday. May the solar wind be at your back, the atherosclerosis absent from your veins. And since it'll never be now again, when you're staring at the sun, don't drink it. If you drink, stare at the sun. Just don't drive.